It's another edition of Steam Next Fest with a whole deluge of demos for people to try on the platform. As a rogue genre self-proclaimed connoisseur, October 2023 sees me diving into the literal hundreds of coming soon titles to pick out at random something that vaguely interests me. As such, this selection is entirely subjective to my own taste and I'll clarify what each vague category means. Try to spend at least 30 minutes per title to see if the demo slice is able to hook, as it were. Let's go! Needs more to stand out. While simple isn't necessarily bad, I consider these games either being too derivative or not having some spark to draw in people who may have already played similar games. Cursorblade. Cursorblade is a really cute game where you play the titular cursor which acts like a blade. Genius. You get the upgrades for your cursor and move your mouse around the screen wildly to slash at the creatures. It's not quite as free as that though, as the monsters will retaliate with bullets or on contact. You'll see them flashing before you get hit, so watch out. If cute and simple ticks your boxes, then by all means, get this. Froguelike. Froguelike? Froguelike? A frog roguelite? Sign me up. That said, besides the various upgrades that are certainly froggy themed, Froguelike is one of the closest Vampire Survivors clones you can get out there. Of course, Vampire Survivors is hardly the first of its kind, but as the one properly freshest in most minds, the demo doesn't convince me people will get this over the other. Interesting conceptually. These are titles that have things to draw me, or I can acknowledge seem fun, but it's not quite for me. Break the loop. It's got style. It's got a way to reduce the RNG a little bit by letting you set events in an order you want to encounter them, and it's similar to games I like. That's why I'm incredibly perplexed as to why I bounced off Break the Loop's demo so hard. I've currently chalked it down to balance issues, as it feels like I'm meant to play aggressively to get the permanent unlock currency, but because skills seem to cost so much, I can't hit the, well, balance. Don't let my skill issues discourage you from checking out this game yourself. CD2 Trapmaster. I'm a tower defense enjoyer, so this should have been a dead ringer for me. In practice, the demo for CD2 Trapmaster felt clunky, not helped by the tool tips not entirely implemented for this initial build. I screwed myself over by an English second language moment, not understanding my energy to summon the traps would be capped, as in its upper limit reduced, so my shiny new card could never be played. It's a little unfortunate, but the basic mechanics should all be in place and just need small polish. Corlero. Do you want even more randomness in your games of auto-team battlers? Corlero has got you, with a story of random, presumably divine entities also potentially ruining your life. There are some mechanics to try reduce the RNG, like if you did mess up your positioning by allowing you to reroll the result of a battle at gradually increasing costs. Still the fact you need 3 copies of a unit to upgrade it, and more than once I've encountered enemy formations with more upgraded units than I have, and rerolling doesn't get me any closer to a tier up unit. I feel like they need more ways to tighten the mechanics as it were, before the randomness becomes more frustrating than fun. Destroy the Monoliths. Destroy the Monoliths feels right for early game hell. Getting the materials feels slow without any upgrades, while enemies come knocking on your door whether you look for them or not. You want the structures to destroy the enemy monoliths while fending them off. Getting the resources you need before they end your miserable little ball's life might need to be streamlined a bit more. The terrain also affects your movement, which will make for some challenge. It just wasn't all that nice to get that start before I really gotten to know the game's workings. Lucky Hero. The slot machine is Lucky Hero is kind of novel as you spin to hopefully win. The slots will be really empty to start of course, until you get more energy to make worthwhile actions. Depending on the positioning of items, you could buff your actions, have empty vials be filled with gunk monsters put into your slots, or just have things get locked up by enemies and you get really unhappy. I feel it's less clunky than a similar slot machine mechanic in Lucky Island, in that there's less to micromanage at least, even if it's not hitting for me. Phantom Rose 2 Sapphire. I had the feeling I'd already seen this game before, and yes, that will be Phantom Rose card art. Phantom Rose 2 Sapphire has the same distinctive art style and mechanics of its predecessor, to its detriment I feel. The demo didn't seem to have anything that made it stand out from Scarlet in my mind apart from the protagonist, so maybe I need to be more invested in the story before I consider Sapphire. Magicraft. Someone static is gonna have to look for a new BLM, I think. Magicraft's opening riffs on fantasy tropes and certain player expectations you should make for fun character interactions. You have your wand and your MP, with the wand not only having your own stats, but also slots in which you can modify your attacks. While I understand the MP cost is a necessary evil to balance some of the fancy effects, I guess it also does cramp the style when you're not allowed to have as much fun with some insane combos if you don't get the one slots you want. It be like that in Roguelites. Voice of Belldona. On its own, Voice of Belldona isn't anything too special.
FBI, open up!
There is a certain focus on story, and mechanically you have both your character's own deck of skills and also can summon uncontrollable units to aid you in battle. There's a lot of positioning you can play around with regards to your skill effects, which should make for some fun. Also, just look at those placeholder assets. If nothing else, having them as an alternative skin for the full release can elevate this game to grand old shitpost. To look out for. Games that I don't always click with, but there's more things that interest me here. Below the Stone. Where Destroy the Monoliths didn't hit it for me, Below the Stone does. You make a little dwarf to embark on an adventure to dig real deep and perhaps revitalize your dwarven kingdom. You need to upgrade your tools as you go along, of course, to work at those veins that sparkle at you from the darkness. There's some flexibility where you can stack low risk missions to take on your expedition, as you need to complete at least one before you can leave the current level. The resources to allow you to keep exploring feel generous enough, so you could just take on riskier, more rewarding missions as you fill up your bags. I'm not the biggest fan of pseudo or otherwise resource management, as I love to just fire away mindlessly, but I think this can be really appealing. Chrysalis. With your posse of animal friends, rid the world of corruption in Chrysalis. Well, I suppose they aren't all animals. Go around possessing creatures to use their skills to aid you against the monsters, and hope to find some seeds for the home defense. Since you can always teleport back almost instantaneously to your base, you could absolutely risk exploring till the other edge of the map in hope for resources or better creature companions to be worthwhile investing into. You do get refunded some of the resources spent on completing a level, so you don't start from zero as you continue. Dethroned. Traipse around the map with your little squaddy and activate the altars and save the world and stuff. I'm not very good at it, but Dethroned intrigued me. Your hero character isn't part of the actual squad, but they have skills to support your creatures over time. If you position it right, you can just avoid combat with hostiles in your way by simply slipping by. It does mean you probably won't have the resources to beef up your army, as the threat level gradually increases to buff all other enemies across the map. Once all your monsters die, it's game over, so the risk-reward learning curve is gonna be something. Heroes of Eternal Quests. Round and round we go. Heroes of Eternal Quests involves placing buildings on the map and you occasionally using active skills to help your hero should the going get tougher. I do like influencing the cause by being more strategic with my placements, less on getting some god drops for a god build, and more to a relatively consistent power grind. Resources obtained from your merry-go-round will be used to unlock more buildings and gradually open up your options to mow down the unfortunates that stand in your way, further adding to the feeling of incremental growth that I enjoy. Shambles. It's like a mix of your typical deck builder roguelike with a dash of role-playing and D&D-esque elements. Shambles places you in a post-apocalyptic world where you become the trailblazer from your bunker home into the new old world now that the radiation is back to safe levels. There are stat checks every now and again for story choices that can grant you a variety of cards, changing based on your decisions. You move along a skill tree to get yourself more equipment to provide different stat bonuses, which you don't need to equip immediately. However, you can only swap it out at certain points, like end of chapter moments. I feel like there's potential here since story isn't necessarily the focal point for a majority of roguelikes, so keep an eye out. SpellRogue. There's so much dice in SpellRogue. Depending on the die phases, you can cast certain spells a certain amount of times. You can see the value range these spells require to cast, so if you so happen to have a 4 value die, your only remaining spell once 1 to 3 and it's unusable. Getting more die and ability to reroll is no doubt going to be the key to success. It's pretty easy to grasp and I managed to get to the end of the demo on my first go, despite almost bungling a battle when I didn't watch my HP, so I'll be interested to see where it goes. Personal picks, the ones I prioritize to purchase. Earthless. I'm a sucker for sci-fi, I admit. Earthless sees you captain a ship through the cosmos, managing your engine seat as you navigate through asteroids, juggling cars to destroy obstacles or hostile aliens wanting a bite out of your crew, and making calls that could affect your crew's morale and the rewards from certain events. I just really like how all these pretty simple mechanics play together, like a version of FTL that is more to my pace. Ending Tau. With Dead Cells and Children of Morta in mind, if you like those games, I think you'll like Ending Tau. Your hunter has 4 main curses to bear to affect your mobility and abilities, which then get upgraded further by aspects, thematically minor curses I suppose. It's faster paced than the stuff I usually like for sure, but it's mechanically quite satisfying. My gripe from the demo is that the indicator around the character wigs me out slightly. I understand it's to help indicate your range, but it felt more awkward than helpful for me personally. Go Mecha Ball. Speaking of fast pace, Go Mecha Ball can be one dizzying bounce all over the field as you crash into enemies. You do have guns to supplement your Wrecking Ball self, but if you don't bounce off enough enemies, you will run out of ammo pretty quickly. There's 2 abilities you can get to at least. Still, the crashing is the name of the game. You can interrupt flashing enemies when you slam into them besides destroying them outright, which can only be good. I'm gonna need more practice. Sandwalkers. Here's one I'm not good at once again. That won't stop me from admiring and enjoying what there is of Sandwalkers though. With your merry band, you need to manage your resources as you travel across the world to trailblaze for those who will follow in your footsteps. Different factions, as it were, will find certain items more worthwhile to trade for, so that they agree to barter for that thing you really want. I'm sure this will also partly play into them trusting you, so that you can have additional options when you find more of their encampments. You don't lose outright when you don't have supplies to continue your travels, but your units do lose HP the further you go. This can make battles dicey despite your starting shields, since you probably don't have a good way to recover your health. At least when you break enemy shields, they can get momentarily stunned, so you can slam them when they're down. Once again, these are all my personal opinions and there were so many demos as usual to try out. With that, that's it for my run in Steam Next Fest October 2023. A number of these games are planning for early access or even launching very soon, so do wishlist all the things you're looking forward to. Until next time, thanks so much.